Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Liu. Thank you so much for joining me in this week's video series talking about how to build mental fitness. Now, I'm a mental fitness coach. This week, I thought I would share with you some of my perspective of how the theory of positive intelligence or mental fitness that we've been talking about, how that compares with some earlier and perhaps even more popular theories of positive psychology. And the reason I want to do this is because I got the privilege to listen to a talk by Dr. Martin Seligman. And many of you might know that he is the founder of positive psychology. And I got the privilege to do this through the coaching company that I work for, BetterUp, which is a great organization that not only brings coaching to big, medium, and small companies, but also organizes these events, such as getting Dr. Seligman to come in and talk. And previously, there have been better live sessions with famous authors such as Elizabeth Gilbert, who I have a lot of respect for, and Angela Duckworth, who came up with the theory of grit. So a lot of good stuff. But so yesterday, I attended this talk and Q&A with Dr. Seligman, where he talked about his theory of positive psychology. And he used the foundation of this one concept, which is called agency, which is what all the theories of positive psychology is based on. And what is agency? And this is just my paraphrasing or my interpretation of it, is basically your ability to believe that you have control over your own life. That whereas the opposite of agency or not having agency is believing, well, there's some greater forces out there that predetermines my destiny, and no matter what I do now, it doesn't make a difference. So I'm not really gonna try to do anything to change my life in any different way, right? So I want to really and talking about agency, Dr. Seligman also talked about the three concepts that, or three elements that contributes to agency. And these are efficacy, optimism, and imagination. So I'll go into a little bit of detail of all of them. But what I wanted to also do is to compare this concept of positive psychology with the concepts that we have been talking about, which is positive intelligence. And also another word I use is mental fitness, right? So my high level view, first of all, is that the positive intelligence theory that we've been talking about is very much aligned with the positive psychology theory that Dr. Seligman talks about. So it's very congruent. There is nothing that is not aligned. And then the second aspect that I want to talk about is how positive intelligence, or this methodology of mental fitness, is actually a way to build a lot of these elements that contributes to agency in positive psychology. So it gives you the tools and the practices that you can use to become more efficacious, have more efficacy or more optimism or imagination, right? And the third, what I like to see in terms of kind of the overall framework of both of them is, when Dr. Seligman talks about agency, I really see that as the sage. In positive intelligence, we talk about the two parts of us, the sage versus the saboteurs. Whereas I really think that someone who has a lot of agency is operating very much from their sage. Much more from their sage than their saboteur. Whereas the saboteur, or at least some of the saboteurs, oftentimes can give you that feeling of lack of agency. All right, so that's just my overall view. Well, let's get into a little bit more detail about each of these three concepts that contributes to agency. So first of all, efficacy. What does that mean? So this is, in my interpretation, again, all of this is my perspective, my interpretation. So if you have some different view, I would love to hear them. Please make them in the comments below, and send me some questions. I would love to hear your perspective. So efficacy, my interpretation of it is how well you can do a task that you need to do in life, right? So let's say you're an employee. So if you have high efficacy, that means you do your job well. Or if you are a spouse, your high efficacy would be you are a good spouse, you make your other half very happy. Or, if you're a parent, high efficacy would be you're a good parent, you raise really good kids. So this is efficacy. Again, this is just some examples of my interpretation. And then the second one, which is optimism. And this is about, you can guess from the word, but also, explaining it a little bit more is, so let's say, this is both present focused as well as future focused, whereas efficacy is for the most part present focused, right? Like how well you're able to do something right now. And optimism is, I see both present and future focus, which is, present focus would be, if something bad happened in your life, or something unexpected, having optimism would be to say, all right, this is not how I expected it, but, I can get over this. I can have the ability to overcome this challenge or obstacle. And future focus would be, hey, I believe that my future will be bright, that I will be able to create the kind of life that I want. I will be happy. I will perform well. I will be successful, etc. Right? So that's optimism. And then the third element is imagination. So this is almost purely future focused. And so having high imagination is what got humans to have a lot of the advances that we've had, whether it's in technology and medicine, literature, art. So this is, hey, we don't have something yet, but because we have an imagination to imagine it to be different in the future, therefore we're going to do all we can to actually come up with those things that we don't actually have yet. So imagination is what enabled humans to think forward, to think about what is possible in the future. So again, efficacy, optimism, and imagination is what causes someone to have high agency. High agency meaning I believe I have control over my own destiny rather than some God or, or whatever else you believe in that determines it and I have no control over it. So if I look at how this compares to some of the theories in positive intelligence, it actually very much aligns. So first of all, efficacy. I see this as the activate power of the sage. So, the sage, once they've decided to do something, let's say you decide, I'm going to have this job or I'm going to create this business. The activate power is to actually go and do that with laser focus and clear-headedness. And not being distracted, not, saying, oh, I can't, not getting self-doubt, and really doing this thing to the best of its ability. So when you have a lot of efficacy, usually you have pretty high activate power of the sage, right? And then the second one, optimism, to me, this is all about the sage perspective, which says anything that happens can be turned into a gift and opportunity. When you have this view, I almost see it, it's not possible to not be optimistic. Let's say, something bad happens now, with that perspective, you can say, hey, instead of brooding over this thing and getting upset over it, I'm going to see how this can be a gift and opportunity. So inevitably, it makes you optimistic. And then in the future, yes, I can set goals, I can have an idea of what I want to achieve. And if I do achieve it, that's great. I'm going to celebrate. But even if I don't, I'm still going to see how I can turn it into a gift and opportunity. So when you have this view, you will be optimistic about the future because no matter what happens, it's fine. So that's the second aspect. And the third of imagination, to me, it really aligns very well with the innovation or innovate power of the sage. And the innovate power is all about coming up with creative solutions that don't exist yet. So it's not looking at only current solutions that can solve a problem, but looking at other solutions that could solve the problem even better. So, that is the imagination element that contributes to agency. And so that's my take. And, and what was Dr. Seligman's kind of call at the end, what so why talk about all of this? Because as coaches, so this is his view, we can help our clients to increase their agency. And also the other theory about agency and why this is important in positive psychology is when one has higher agency, generally it's correlated with higher levels of positive psychology, or being happier, being higher performing, and just having generally a more well-being life. And in Dr. Seligman's research, he also has shown that, people live longer, people have better relationships, people generally, are happier, etc. So coaching is one way that can help people build their agency. And the way I see the positive intelligence methodology is through the simple concepts of the saboteur and the sage, and these simple practices that we talked about last week of PQ reps. It really helps you to build more of your sage. And you can see all the three elements of positive psychology. It actually all is contributed to the sage. It comes from the sage. So by doing some of these simple practices, you can increase the power of your sage and tune down your saboteurs, because the saboteurs really don't, we talk about agency, it's many of them don't give you a lot of agency. It makes you feel like powerless. Dr. Seligman also talks about the learned helplessness. And when people are in this position, that is when they don't feel good, they don't perform well, and and they generally don't have as good of a life. And so, and I have a lot of respect for Dr. Seligman, because he is really the first person, even though building on some of the previous psychologists, but really the first one that started talking about well-being in human beings, happiness and flourishing and thriving, rather than psychology, where it started from Freud, which I do have a lot of respect for him as well. But at that point, it was mostly about how pathology, how we can solve someone's pain, abnormalities. And those things are important, but also in recent years, we've also discovered we can actually find a way to get humans to thrive even more, and find those elements that contributes to some people's thriving, and let's all learn about it and develop that for ourselves too. So that's what positive intelligence does, and this methodology of mental fitness. So I'm going to link some links down below if you want to learn more about Martin Seligman or his theories, as well as the theories of positive intelligence and mental fitness. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and take good care. Please send me your questions and comments. I would love to hear them, and have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.